Well, hey everybody, it's Sandy and welcome back to my channel dedicated to helping you advocate for your own health one topic at a time. And welcome back to my kitchen. We're only going to be using the kitchen really for part of this video, but I thought it was a good place to be given what I want to talk about today, which is hot peppers. People either get really nervous or really excited when you start talking about spicy. Do you like it spicy or do you want it mild, right? There doesn't seem to be much middle ground. Now, I was one of those people in the very nervous category. I never liked spicy, and I'm still a little bit finicky about it, although I've trained myself a bit to develop a palate for spicier foods. Now, why would I want to do that? So a lot of people don't know that the capsaicin in spicy peppers is actually a profound anti-inflammatory. It seems really counterintuitive, right? How could hot, burning, painful, how could that possibly be anti-inflammatory? But it is. It has profound anti-inflammatory properties. So I decided a while back, after learning just how powerfully anti-inflammatory hot peppers are, that I was going to try to acquire the taste and train myself and really develop my palate so that I could enjoy a little more spice in my food. So I'm going to walk you through some of the tricks that I've learned and how I do that. And afterwards, I'm going to walk you through how I make my sweet and spicy chili sauce. So if you want to see all that, just keep watching. Yeah, so hot peppers come in all different ways, right? So you can find the dried pods. They usually come in a large bag. These are easy to find in a lot of ethnic markets like Indian markets and Asian markets. They last forever in your pantry. Then there are fresh. These happen to be Fresno peppers. Now, I don't find that there's a whole lot of variety. It's sort of like if I want a green hot pepper, maybe I've got the choice of the jalapeno or maybe something else. When it comes to red, I usually have like one, maybe two options in my local store. But these are Fresno peppers. Now, to me, these are quite hot. These are sort of medium on the heat scale. Of course, we have red pepper flakes, which is basically these little dried peppers that I just showed you, chopped up, and that's why the seeds are all loose. And then of course you have your good old-fashioned like hot sauce that people kind of dump on their food after it's already at the table. I'm not going to go into that. That's sort of not the way I use the heat, although I do like a good sriracha sauce when it's used the right way and sparingly. So I've used a couple of different tricks in order to try to acclimate myself to a little more heat. And I'd say that I did this in steps. So very early on, baby steps, what I did is, first of all, I like to make a lot of different ethnic foods. So lots of different ethnic dishes, for example, Indian food, Asian food, they start with some sort of a stir fry on the stove. And what I found is a way to incorporate a very subtle bit of heat and learn to just enjoy it as a background flavor, and it really was delicious, is to take one or two of these dried chilies and use it to just make the oil hot. So when you put the oil out on the stove for the saute a couple of these in with it. Now you're going to pull these out before long. You don't have to simmer them with the dish the whole way through the cooking, but just getting these sauteed will impart some of that heat into the oil, and you will taste it as a very subtle background flavor where there's just a nice pleasant intensity without any kind of a burn. So I found that that was a really good, easy baby step and a way for me to start introducing myself to eating more spicy foods. Now, in addition to that, there are some flavor mixtures that will actually alter the intensity of the heat and make it a little easier for you to sort of start acclimating yourself to the heat of hot peppers. So one thing is to mix with sweet, and that's what I'm going to do with the sweet chili sauce. And I can't really call this a totally anti-inflammatory dish, right? Because I am going to be using some sweet with it. That's just what hot chili sauce is, sriracha sauce is. There is some sweetness either in the form of sugar or honey, but I still feel like it was a very reasonable trade-off. I mean, you're not going to be having that much sugar when you use this, but it's a good way to acclimate yourself to that pleasant heat. The other thing is sour, like vinegar. So that's the other thing that's in the chili sauce we're going to be making today. It's also in sriracha sauces. You will find the sour of vinegar. It sort of fine tunes that heat. Another example of that is kimchi. So kimchi is sort of Korean sauerkraut. It's basically a fermented dish that's not only cabbage like the sauerkraut that most of us in the Western world know, but it also incorporates a few sweeter vegetables like some onion and carrots, daikon, radish root. So it's got some of those sweeter vegetables in it, and it also has some garlic cloves, and a few other things. And then that's fermented, so just like sauerkraut, it gives it that real sour flavor. And it's a really good way to start to learn to enjoy that heat because the sour will temper it. So this is good actually by itself. You have a tiny little bit, it's sort of a condiment. You can put it in with your rice if you're having rice at a meal. You can mix this in a little bit of hummus. Anything that would typically cater to an acidic palate is good with kimchi. So I recommend that you try that. I make my own kimchi. One of these days when my local store starts to get the organic Napa cabbage in, I will do that. Let me know if you guys want me to just do a video of that. It's kind of cumbersome. Homemade kimchi is really beneficial. It's full of probiotics. So let me know if you guys want to see an episode where I make my kimchi. So today what I'll be doing is taking these Fresno peppers that I have, and I'm going to be combining them with a few other things to make that sweet, sour, hot chili sauce. So let's get started. All right, guys, so this is just a few simple ingredients. I've got everything together here. I do wear gloves when I'm going to be working with hot peppers for obvious reasons. Of course, I wash my hands when I'm done, but just in case I didn't get every little tiny bit out from under my nails or something, I wouldn't want to like touch my eye and burn myself. So I always use gloves when I'm working with these hot peppers. I'm going to put the recipe here. So for most of the ingredients, you'll see I've used weights instead of volume. It's just a much better way to get the right proportions. So I'm going to just start out roughly chopping my peppers. Now, these are going to go into my Vitamix processor. If you have one of those coarse hand choppers, that's fine too. I'm not really trying to make this into any kind of a puree. It's just going to be a rough chop, and we're going to make it into sort of a paste. And I'll show you the consistency. Now you'll see that the seeds are falling all over my cutting board. I do want to keep those seeds. The seeds are where the heat is. I will tell you that when you put this thing through the chopper, don't put your nose in there and take a nice big deep breath in to try to get the aroma. I'm going to put the chopped chili peppers into the processor. All right, so the hot chilies and the garlic cloves are in. I'm just going to pulse. So it's just a coarse chop, you can see that. Now all of that's going to go into a saucepan. And to the saucepan I'm going to add about a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add my white vinegar. I'm going to add the sweetener. In my case I used a little bit of sugar and mostly honey. And 6 ounces of water. I'm going to get this on the stove. I'm going to bring this to a boil and wait until that sugar and honey dissolves completely. I'm going to stir it kind of often, and then I'm just going to let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Okay, so my mixture did come to a boil. I have turned it down. I've made sure to stir it because I don't want any honey or anything burning at the bottom. I wanted to make sure that the honey was completely dissolved. Let me just give you a look at it. So I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to thicken it, and then we're done. Okay, so my mixture's been simmering a little over 5 minutes. So now I've got the slurry of cornstarch with water that I'm going to use just to thicken it. If you don't have that, you can use potato starch. I think it's a little trickier. You have to be patient with it. You don't want it to boil too hard. At this point, it's important that it just simmers. I'm going to stir it a little bit, and it will thicken up. And then it will continue to thicken as it cools. So once it's thoroughly cooled, it will be a nice thick mixture. You can see my mixture is thickened really nicely, so I'm just going to turn off that heat. All right, so I'm going to let this cool a bit, and then I'm going to pour it into my glass jar. Guys, it smells so good in here. All right, and here we have our homemade chili sauce. Never have to use bottled sriracha again. So this will be good forever in the fridge. It's excellent for anything you would use sriracha. Even if you're somebody who just likes wings occasionally and you want to get used to hotter wings, this would be an excellent way to start. Now, if you want to cut down on the spiciness, because this is still quite spicy, when you go to use this in a dish, you're going to start out with just a spoonful of it, and then you're going to dilute it down still with a little bit of vinegar or a little bit of honey, your choice, and see how you like it. But you're basically going to be using this as a concentrate, and it's going to be diluted every time you use it. So guys, I hope this was helpful. Personally, I'm really happy that I decided to start trying to train my palate and acquire a taste for a little bit more spice in my life. But let me know if you have any other tricks. And I hope you'll try this and let me know how you like it. And until next time, be well. Bye-bye.